Welcome class, this is chapter 1, Three Perspectives. Three Perspectives is in chapter 1, but the chapter doesn't elaborate on it that much, so I'll explain it more. So the three major perspectives in sociology are three specific theories that you're going to be tested on, so you need to know these. And once you know them, they'll seem easy. It's like no big deal. So these are perspectives. So it's the way we look at things, the way we understand society. So don't mistake these for what people do or what society do. It's what we do. It's what scientists do to understand society. So it's like an analysis method. So we'll cover functionalist, conflict, and symbolic interaction. So functionalist, I'll just use, I'm going to overlay graphics on the video. Functionalist, also known as structural functionalist, this analysis looks at society as if it were an organism or a machine, a system of parts that work together, that have some equilibrium happening. It's a system that's running together, and it's a well-functioning machine. So there will be independent, these parts, in a closed system, kind of like a cell. All of these parts work in sync, at least in theory. That's the ideal. But what makes these parts work together? And these parts, we can say, are people. So what do you think make everyone work together?
A common goal.
Common goal, yeah. How do we find out about the common goal?
It's what we're taught.
Mm-hmm. So teaching, we teach people things, and that can be like parent, child, teacher, billboards, things like that. What else? What else keeps us in sync?
Money.
Money, yeah. Or the lack of. It's kind of a negative incentive, right? If you don't participate, you're not going to get money. Or sometimes you will get rewarded with money for participating. So, it works both ways, that you have these financial incentives or material incentives to go along with the flow. Or, if you violate those norms, you will be fined money. What other ways are people motivated or taught? Yeah, food. Especially maybe parents and their kids teaching things like that, or I don't know, is there other food incentives in society that keeps you following norms? I suppose just being good consumers, will allow you to eat food that you want. Even informal ways, like dirty looks, peer pressure, that you want to be accepted, all of these informal and formal ways. So they range from just dirty looks to fines, punishment, executions. All the different ways to motivate people are these invisible and visible social bonds that keep everyone on the same page. So this is all about being on the same page. That's a good catchphrase to use here. The functionalist scientist, or the functionalist perspective, sees not only this kind of structure but how does everyone get on the same page? You know, is it these kind of social bonds? Is it these incentives? Or is there a lack of something? Don't mistake that the functionalist theorist wants this to happen. They don't care. It's like, you know, is it happening or not? Maybe there's something missing. Maybe these people's social bonds weren't there, and this part of society is maybe considered deviant. Maybe they're not eating sushi right or something. You know, maybe they're using too much soy sauce and just plunging it into the soy sauce and all that, and because maybe they weren't taught the right way to eat, you know, sushi. There weren't the social bonds there. So the explanation for when things go wrong or when things go right are how did everyone get or not get on the same page? Okay, so this is also how ideology spreads, like politics. You know, why do we have, you know, like conservative and liberal or Republican and Democrat? You know, may have something to do with these kind of social bonds and the influences that spread through society. Now, when everyone is, you know, on the same page, everyone is there, it's called solidarity. So everyone is solid, there is solidarity, it's considered everyone is adequately socialized. So to teach everyone, you socialize them. Meaning, you know, you spread these norms to everyone by the teaching we already talked about. So that's easy to see, this kind of analysis, right? So let's move on to another analysis called conflict theory. This is another macro. The first one was a big picture macro view of society. Conflict theory is also a big picture macro view of society. And this sees society as at least two different classes of people. Now we have to figure out what is a class of people. You can call it a social group that is that maybe membership is can be by ideology or race or money or something you can't easily escape. Marx was the first published conflict theorist, and he saw what we might say rich and poor, or the owners of the means of production, you know, owners of factories, how to make stuff, and the workers. So it was hard to just switch back and forth between being a worker and an owner. You know, it's like, how do you just switch between rich and poor? So there were two classes of people that were in conflict because there was a structure in society that allowed owners of these factories to exploit the workers. And Marx called capitalism. Capitalism said, well, if you have lots of capital, you're able to create this system where you can hire workers cheap because they had no other way to make money, and they had to work for subsistence wages, and the workers could sell their products for a lot more and get profit and so forth. So there's two important concepts to conflict theory. It's class and it's structure. Because you can have two different classes, but they may not be in conflict if the structure, you know, doesn't facilitate that. You know, if you are on a deserted island and you're just some people there, you wouldn't have a structure that necessarily would put people in conflict. But this kind of capitalist structure, Marx saw that it created a class system that put them in conflict. Now, we can apply this analysis to different classes, such as black and white, male, female, different types of social classes that would be in conflict. So don't mistake this theory as just two people having a conflict. Always look for what class are they in, and what is the structure that allows these two classes to be in conflict. When you are a member of a class, well, you are a potential victim. All people in a class are potential victims of, say, oppression in that scenario. So that's conflict theory. Symbolic interaction theory, I'll just put SI. This is a micro look at society, meaning they look at the individual, how individuals understand society. And individuals learn meanings of life and things through interaction and learning and teaching meanings of things. Not only just a symbol like a stop sign. Obviously, we learn what a stop sign is. Obviously, we learn to mean it's to stop, right? But I don't know, is there more meaning to a stop sign to us? What else does it mean to us? Yeah, trouble, there's some weight behind a stop sign. There's a law, there's the whole legal system behind it if you violate that, so there's some seriousness to it. There are other symbols in society, like the flag. Where's the flag? We learn the flag as a symbol, and we may learn it differently than someone else would learn the flag. Like right here, we would learn the American flag is this, and it means this, and we have certain feelings about it. But someone on the other side of the world would see the American flag as something different, right? Or people, like the homeless person. How do we see the homeless person? We see, a person maybe with a beard, and maybe we've learned the stereotype of the homeless person. What's the stereotype?
Begging for money, basically.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, begging for money, maybe lazy, drunk. They brought it upon themselves. All these kind of meanings to that. How could someone in another society look at homeless people? Yeah, maybe it wasn't their fault, or maybe they're old, or maybe they're young, maybe they're maybe they're unencumbered by material goods, or but we have a certain label or meaning of this symbol that we learn not only to understand but how to act. So when we see a homeless person on the street, maybe we have built up an instinct to act a certain way. We may teach other people about that. We may reinforce behavior by how we behave. So this kind of, it's also called labeling. It's what it sounds like. We make labels. They're like stereotypes. And we learn them, we reteach them, and that's how we understand life. So the symbolic interactionist will look at a situation and how did that person learn the meaning of this? How did they learn their response to it? So it's not only this understanding, but it's also maybe the response behavior and what they're doing about it and how they're reteaching the response.